over 150 years, the Kentucky Derby has stood as the most enduring tradition in American sports. And in our time, one stallion is reshaping its legacy. Back-to-back Derby winners. His first son at stud siring another. A dynasty in motion. A motion that again has forward momentum toward Louisville, with another elite crop of 3-year-olds bearing his genes. Spendthrift Farm, home of Into Mischief.
Hello everybody, Mike Welsch coming to you from Churchill Downs with another edition of the Daily Racing Form Kentucky Derby Workout Report, brought to you by Spendthrift Farm, the home of 6-time General Champion sire Into Mischief, who will have 2 starters in this year's Derby, Citizen Bull and Sovereignty. And Citizen Bull is part of our main coverage today. We had 3 Derby workers this morning, only 5 days out now, so most of the stuff you wouldn't think would be too serious, but not Bob Baffert. It doesn't bother him. He set Citizen Bull down for a fairly serious, actually a very serious move today. He went 5 A's from the 4.5 furlong pole. Jockey Martin Garcia was aboard. He went 5 A's in 58-2, fractions of 24-1, 35-3. After that opening furlong, he was really zipping it along, and but he did it easy, looked good doing it. He had blinkers on, galloped out strong, 6 furlongs in 1:12. And eased up 7 A's in 127-1. So all in all, a pretty good morning for Citizen Bull. The problem for Citizen Bull, he drew that 1 hole, and it kind of forces his hand. Look, he's a speed horse anyway, but from an outside post, maybe you think of taking back a little bit off the pace. From the rail, you got no choice. You got to go, and it really, it's been a long time since anybody's won the Kentucky Derby from post position number 1. The other 2 workers this morning, Baeza, who's still on the outside looking in. If he does get in, he's going to be on the other side of the gate because he's going to be in post 20. If he is fortunate to draw into the race, he's going to need a scratch between now and Saturday. But he won an easier 5 A's today, a leisurely 5 A's, if you will. In 102-1, he kind of walked away from the 5 A's pole. He had Flavian Pratt aboard. Now, Flavian Pratt will ride Baeza if he gets into the race. If not, he will ride Neo Equos for trainer Safi Joseph Jr. But he went away slow, picked up the pace as he went along. Nothing fancy today, almost like a maintenance move. He galloped out in 116-1. And the third worker was Cole Battle, just blew out 3/8 of a mile. I had him in 36-1, galloped out in 50-2. And as is the case in all the works I've seen from him, he was sent pretty hard the last part of it to finish up. One work I'm going to mention, it's not a Derby horse. It, at one point, thought it had been a Derby horse, but that's Matticat Road. He instead is, right now, the morning line favorite for the Pat Day Mile on Saturday. He came out after the 9 o'clock renovation break for Bob Baffert, and he too had a serious 5 A's in 1 minute and 3/5, finished up in 23 and change, galloped out in 113-2. So that's Matticat Road. His last start, he was 4th in the Florida Derby, kind of took him off the Kentucky Derby trail, but he could be the favorite in the Pat Day Mile, a very competitive Pat Day Mile, which goes on the Derby undercard. To me, the star this morning, though, just watching, trying to watch as many gallopers as I could in between these works, was Cara. She was full of herself again today. My God, I actually had a watch on her going down the backstretch right before a Citizen Bull broke off, and she was reeling off 14 and change second, 8th miles. Again, she's been as good as anybody here in either race. She had the best work of any filly I saw for the Oaks, and arguably of any horse we've seen here in the Oaks Derby session. So Cara couldn't be doing better coming into the Oaks on Friday. The Japanese horses did a little bit more today than I've seen them in all the time I've been here. They were actually on the track a long time. They were up in the chute early, came out on the track at 7:15. They were still on the track leaving the paddock about a half hour later at 7:45. I think both Admire Daytona and Luxor Cafe are scheduled to do something tomorrow. Kind of anxious to see them stretch their legs. They really haven't done much, anything serious prepping for the Derby up to this point. Other than that, a pretty routine morning. Look, we had 6 workers yesterday, so it was a walk day for most of them. I did see East Avenue out jogging with the pony this morning, or maybe just walking with the pony on the outside fence, but he did come out after working a nice 5 A's on Sunday. So like I said, that's about it for the serious Derby works, but we're going to stay here and keep watching these horses. The next few days are the most nerve-wracking days for most of these trainers, just trying to get their horses, keep them maintained and keep them healthy coming into the Oaks and Derby this weekend. So again, for the best coverage in Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Oaks 2025, it's right here on DRF.com.